Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. We're going to go straight into this one for you. Tyson Fury versus Lucas Browne. Before anyone starts and asks the question if this is official, no, it's not official. But Lucas Browne just did a video, popped it out on his Twitter page, or maybe his Instagram page. I don't know which one it is. He basically said that he'd be grateful for the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury. He has been in training. He mentioned about COVID and the difficulties with COVID and in training, but he said he'd love to be in the ring with Tyson Fury. He'd love a fight against Tyson Fury, and he'd love to. He'd be going there to try and knock Tyson Fury out. All the things he would say if you were given the money or given the opportunity to fight someone who is considered the best heavyweight in the world, and you can make a good bit of wonga from a good bit of money in this fight. But you know, it's strange because when they were talking about opponents for Tyson Fury, I was thinking, who would Tyson Fury fight? And I know that there was talk about at one point Tyson Fury fighting Charles Martin. I thought, nah, that fight's a dangerous fight for Tyson Fury, especially now Martin, the way Martin is at the moment. He's one of them guys. He's the kind of guy that could cause a real upset. Forget the Charles Martin that fought Anthony Joshua. We know that fight, Charles Martin had more or less given his belt over to Joshua, and the belt was bought. So forget that. Because if you look at subsequent fights with Charles Martin, he's fought with very rugged, very determined, and with lots of passion. He fought with no passion that night when he fought Joshua. So to me, when I look at this fight with Tyson Fury and Lucas Browne, why would this fight be made? Well, it's obvious. Fury's already sparred Lucas Browne on numerous occasions, or he sparred Lucas Browne before. He spoke about Lucas Browne on numerous occasions. He's got a good friendship with Lucas Browne, and he's just called Lucas Browne a doorman and a bum. How many times has Fury disrespected and said things about Lucas Browne? He's a bum. He's a doorman. Knock him out in a couple of rounds. I'll handle him. No problems. The fans will like it because Lucas Browne's still the tough guy. Considered a tough guy, even though he's lost to Dave Allen, even though he's lost to Dillian White. But boxing's a funny thing. Boxing's a really funny thing. You lose to this guy, you lose to that guy. Well, I remember I heard stories about Lucas Browne when he was preparing to fight Dillian White. He wasn't in great shape, and he wasn't, he didn't look great in the gym. And when he had the Dave Allen fight, and he got a bunch of, you just don't know because, the motivation sometimes. I'm not saying it wasn't a good performance by Dillian White or by Dave Allen, but to now get in the ring and fight Tyson Fury and the opportunity to become heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, some guys just get up for things like that. Some people just have one good fight in them for one good night. And the one thing Lucas Browne can do, he can punch. Yes, he's slow. Yes, he's got no defense. Yes, he's not a great boxer. But nobody expects him to go over and beat Shagayev. Now, I'm not selling this as Lucas Browne, the guy to beat Tyson Fury. But what I am selling this as to you as Lucas Browne, the guy who got beat by Dave Allen and got beat by Dillian White, but he's going to get a world title shot before Dillian White. How ironic is that? Dillian White, who basically went to court to get his right to fight for the WBC title, gets knocked out by Alexander Povetkin, and then steps Lucas Browne. In steps Lucas Browne, and you just wonder yourself now, how costly was that defeat to Povetkin? Just think this a second. Imagine Lucas Browne out of nowhere. Dillian White is ranked was ranked number one for the WBC as a mandatory challenger, right? 1,000 days plus. Povetkin was in the top 10. If Povetkin gets number one now, Dillian White now has to try and fight his way back, claw his way back to fight Povetkin in a rematch. And Lucas Browne, who gets stopped by Dave Allen, gets beat up by Dillian White, is probably on the verge of a world title shot. And why would this fight happen? Well, this is the way boxing is so, like, in some ways, boxing's so predictable. Boxing is so predictable. You know how it goes. To see how a fight goes. This is how they do the market research. They stick a video out there to see how many likes it gets, to see what the play is. And don't tell me that Tyson Fury and Lucas Browne have not been talking over the phone about this. Come on. Come on. Fury and Lucas Browne, this fight is a fight that's dead on certain to happen. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it will make Tyson look good. It'll make Tyson look good. It will. If Tyson's on his A game. You know, don't say is this a joke, because when it's announced, you got a lot of you people in boxing pretty two-faced. You go, is this a joke? And then you'll be tuning in the night to clap and say, "Oh, Fury!" So I don't want to hear if it's a joke. This is serious. This could seriously happen. This could happen. I mean, it's not the first time that Fury would have fought. I mean, Lucas Browne's a far better opponent than the guy he had made his comeback against. He's a far better opponent than what's his name, Otto Wallin, and he's a better opponent than what's the other guy, Tom Swartz. So I'm not sure where all the big hullabaloo is. And Fury made those are guys that Fury fought against. Okay, those were guys he fought against for the linear heavyweight championship of the world. Okay, he defended against them. So it's not like, Fury's defending against Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman, and making those record title defenses like that. Tom Swartz, let me remind you, Tom Swartz, Safa Safiri, because you still had the linear title then you wanted to run around with and talk about. Otto Wallin, and then the Deontay Wilder fights. Okay, so that's what it is. So, Lucas Browne isn't even. There we go. Look at this. Mate, boxing doesn't go by rankings. Boxing doesn't go by rankings. If you actually believe boxing goes by rankings, then I don't know where you've been in the world. The boxing doesn't go by rankings. Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion of the world. If boxing went by rankings, how the hell has this guy Manuel Shah been heavyweight champion for the last 3 years and done absolutely nothing with the belt? Kept the belt hostage, hijacked the belt. Why is it that Callum Smith, who's WBC champion, last fight he had was how long ago? So it's not about that. It's about what's marketable. Is this fight marketable? Yeah, it's marketable. It's Tyson Fury and Lucas Browne. It'll happen. There's a market there for it. It'll happen. To be fair, he keeps saying he wants big fights. This is an interim fight, especially if we're to believe Wilder fight not happening this year. Yeah, so this is an interim fight. This is an interim fight. I mean, you see, some people don't think this out logically. They get all emotional. You've got to think like a business. That's why a lot of fans can never be businessmen, right, in boxing. You've got to think about this. You need a fight that Fury can take at the end of the year, right, and just to get him keep him sharp and active for the next year against Joshua. Not too dangerous, right? In heavyweight boxing, though, it is Fury's skill factor, long arms, long reach, boxing ability, can keep Lucas on the end of a jab. You'd think that it's an easy night for Fury, or an easy-ish night for Fury. He certainly doesn't want to be getting hit with big bombs by Lucas Browne. I mean, Otto Wallin caught him, but I don't know. But I certainly think this is a ideal fight for Fury, a tune-up fight, a keep busy fight, particularly in the COVID time. This is an excellent fight for Tyson Fury. I'm not saying it's an excellent fight for the fans. It's an excellent fight for Tyson Fury. And remember, I saw Tyson Fury the other day on Good Morning Britain, and I looked at him and said, you know what? Fury's starting to look like he's starting to polish up. I can see Fury becoming a presenter and being a commentator. I can see it happening. I can see them trying to refine Fury and making him being a presenter. I can see him being a presenter. I know there were the rumors about him doing a presenter show for the Contender, but I can see Tyson Fury becoming a presenter. A presenter. Surprise! He's fighting someone as good as Browne. Okay, so I don't think the fight's gonna happen. This isn't official, but Browne has been mentioned as one of the guys. Caballero. Yeah, I heard there's talks of Caballero. No, Caballero doesn't sell. Caballero doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. Nobody cares about Caballero. At least with you, Lucas Browne, you've got the Australian audience there. You could sell Lucas Browne, Australia, former heavyweight champion of the world, going for a second time to become heavyweight champion of the world. You know, they've got the highlight reels. They can use Lucas Browne, you know, when he fought against James Toney, or they can use Lucas Browne in the knockout fight when he knocked out Shagayev. They can say, you know, he's got the power to become a heavyweight champion. Look at how he went to Russia and became a heavyweight champion. You know, and they can sell the story even further. Oh, he got popped with drugs, but he's come back now. He's clean. He's been knocked out by Dillian White. He's been beat by David Allen. But look at this. He's fighting Tyson Fury. What happens if he lands one punch against Tyson Fury? It could happen. Do you know what I mean? That's how you sell it. I mean, I'm surprised you boxing fans are not picking this up. You can see the script already. I remember it's an interim fight. They can't afford Tyson Fury to fight anybody that, you know, is dangerous. I mean, he's not going to fight Wilder now, so that's out of the question. Not that it seems anyway. It seems that he says, knock it on the head. So, I mean, why would you want him to fight a killer, but at the same time you want him to fight Joshua for the undisputed? Don't understand you all sometimes. Caballero scored Chisora, who's fighting for the WBO mandatory. So did Pulev. So did David Haye. Does that mean David Haye should be fighting for a world title? Should be fighting against Tyson Fury now? So anyway, back to my point. I mean, I just think to myself, this is a good fight for Fury. It's marketable. You know, he's got Australian fan base, former world champion, WBA title holder, good friends with Fury. Lucas Browne will be looking for a fight. It's an easy fight to make. He's not going to have any problems making that fight. However, you know, every fight in heavyweight boxing is a dangerous fight if you allow the opponent to hit you. You understand? And if Tyson Fury allows Lucas Browne to now clean one on him, yeah, I know he got up against Wilder and blah, blah. You just don't want that happening, because it will be an absolute disaster if Lucas Browne were to throw a punch from the gods and lay Fury out flat. Because could you imagine Lucas Browne knocking Tyson Fury out? Could you just imagine it? Unlikely to happen. That's why the word upset comes into boxing. If Lucas Browne were to somehow land a punch on Tyson Fury's chin and lay Fury out and stop Tyson Fury, wow, that would throw the heavyweight division into a complete mess. All that work that Fury's done unravels in front of Lucas Browne, the guy that, you know, just came in for the payday. You know, he's just the interim guy. You know, they might be able to fool a few casuals, but anyone in boxing knows this would be a joke of a fight. Why is it a joke of a fight? I mean, as bad as Logan Paul and Mayweather. Well, no, I mean, you sound like a casual there, because how can you compare Logan Paul and Mayweather versus Lucas Browne and Tyson Fury? First of all, you need schooling. Lucas Browne is a former heavyweight champion of the world. Lucas Browne has been a professional fighter for how long? Logan Paul's a YouTuber. This guy's a professional boxer. Logan Paul what was his background, Logan Paul? This guy's two professional fighters. I can't believe you're being so disrespectful to Lucas Browne. I don't understand how disrespectful you are to Lucas Browne. Lucas Browne is a decent fighter. Not everyone can be heavyweight champion of the world, or not everybody can be the greatest fighter since sliced bread. And you know what? It's a good thing. It'd be really good if the fight with Lucas Browne is made, because that's an interim fight. As far as I'm concerned, for the good of boxing, not for the good of the fans, for the good of boxing, we need Tyson Fury to be at his best, and we need Joshua to get through his fight with Pulev, and then we've got the undisputed fight next year. That's what we need. We don't need an out of shape Fury coming to fight. We don't need a guy that's been out for so long since the last Wilder fight. We need Fury kept busy. So I really think that this is a good fight. For what it's worth, it's a good fight. It's a better fight than bloody Tom Schwartz. That was a joker of a fight. It was a better fight than Safa Safiri. It's a better fight than what's the guy? The Italian that he fought. Can't remember the Italian he fought. Can't remember his name again. But Klitschko knocked out in 5 rounds. That was his second or third fight back. He went 10 rounds. I think he went 8 or 10 rounds with. It's a better fight than Otto Holling, and it's a better fight than Tom Schwartz. So what are you talking about? It's a better fight. Former world champion. None of those guys, Otto Walling, Tom Schwartz, what's this guy's name? Safa Sifiri. None of those guys were world champion. None of those guys were world champions. I don't believe Jake Paul was ever a world champion either. So I'm not sure how Jake Paul becomes a part of this conversation. Just nonsense talk. Here's a good question. How do you think White would feel if he gets a fight made? Well, it's White's fault. He got himself knocked out by Povetkin. So, not how he feels. I mean, if you'd knocked Povetkin out, he might have been right in line now to fight Tyson Fury. Fury found a loophole in the contract with Wilder and created a narrative that Wilder ducked him. Got to respect Fury's hustle. Oh, yeah. Well, who would you rather fight? Would you rather fight Deontay Wilder again and chance the possibility you may get dropped and knocked out? Or fight Lucas Browne? I know who I'd bloody be fighting. Everybody's seen Browne starched by Dillian and LOL and saw him folded by Allen. Ah, yeah. But everybody saw that Hasim Rahman got folded by, I can't remember the guy's name. Got folded, got knocked out. Didn't he get knocked out again by Corey Sanders as well? But didn't have Hasim Rahman come back and knock out Lennox Lewis? What are you talking about? What your conversation per usual, Ruben, is nonsensical. Browne is known to casuals as a joke. No disrespect, he did beat Chagayev, mate. The only casual in the room remote is yourself. So coming back to this point, is I think Lucas Browne is a marketable fight. I think it's a sellable fight. I think Top Rank and Fury and those in the boxing know will probably go for Lucas Browne because he's marketable. Lucas Browne. People will sit in, tune in, and watch the fight with Lucas Browne. They won't care about him getting folded by this person or that person. You may think that, Ruben, but that's just not how boxing works. That's not how boxing works. Do you understand? Well, what about Vladimir Klitschko? He got folded by Ross Purity, didn't he? If that was the case, look at Kuzman. He got folded by Michael Hunter, didn't he? I mean, we can talk about people getting folded. It's not about that. In boxing, you win some fights, you lose some fights. But as far as I'm concerned, again, this is a credible fight for Lucas Browne. Lucas Browne, Tyson Fury, I think it's a credible fight. If you're thinking about the bigger picture and the fight with Joshua. So if you're thinking undisputed and getting Tyson Fury a fight this year and getting him out, getting him out, that's fine. Against a decent opponent and you're making some money for the fight, yes. And you've also got to remember we are in COVID season. So the bigger the name, and it's COVID, and it's probably going behind closed doors, the better it is to sell as either a pay-per-view or a fight that they can get sponsorship for. Gotta think about this, people. This isn't the Lucas Browne of old. He's a shell of his former self. Yeah. I said the same thing about Evander Holyfield when he fought Mike Tyson. Oh, he's a shell of himself. He went to beat Mike Tyson up, didn't he? Twice. Shell of himself. Yeah, of course. Does Browne even have a proper trainer at the moment? Does it matter? Who cares? Are you going to train him? I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, this is a good fight for Tyson Fury. As far as I'm concerned, this is a marketable fight for Tyson Fury. And Lucas Browne is the perfect opponent. And if they decide to go outside Lucas Browne, Caballero just doesn't sell. Yeah, Caballero. He fought Derek Chisora, and do you know what I mean? So it's just not a sellable fight. Just not a sellable fight. You got to think about sellable fights, and this is a sellable fight. Levels. So, okay. Ruben Guerrero, who would you suggest as an interim fighter, an interim fight for Tyson Fury to have that's marketable now? Name a fighter for me. So, guys are so disrespectful. So disrespectful. But you know what? It's a new season, so guess what? Do you know what? So yeah, that's what it is. That's my thoughts on this particular fight. I think it's an interesting fight. A really interesting fight. Yeah. Of course, if I say it, because I know you lot just don't respect what I have to say, but if I say it, it doesn't matter. If Sky says it, or if BT say it, you're going to suck it all up. And that's just how it goes. So if you don't like what I've got to say, clear off. So that's it. Fury, Browne, let's wait and see what happens next in boxing. I'm out. Take care.